A very good afternoon, Team Zimbabwe, and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. And this afternoon, we need to take a look on a very sensitive story. So recently, the International Parliamentary Union gave a judgment and ordered Zimbabwe to reinstate CCC members of parliament and councillors who were illegally recalled by Chavangu and the regime. So let us take a look on to the story. Remember that there was a video which was posted online where the Speaker of Parliament in Zimbabwe was thoroughly grilled, and a decision was finally reached to compel him to reinstate the MPs. However, the only challenge is that this issue was overtaken by events a long time ago, and it's now difficult to find a way to deal with it. So let us take a look on the challenges now faced by the government of Zimbabwe at this moment in time. It's interesting, Team Zimbabwe. I've seen a lot of arguments, people saying the decisions of the IPU are not going to influence anything in Zimbabwe. But I'm going to explain how they are going to influence decisions going forward. What is very important to note is that given this finding by the IPU, there is a division which is attached to the United Nations, which belongs to IPU, and it's called the IPU Committee on UN Affairs. This Committee on UN Affairs, it facilitates greater understanding of UN processes, and it also works and brings the voice of parliamentarians to UN policymakers, which means this decision, which was reached by IPU, where they ordered the Zimbabwean government or parliament to reinstate the recalled MPs with full benefits, it means this matter can be taken further to United Nations, or they can inform UN policymakers about the illegality which happened in Zimbabwe. Secondly, using this judgment, the International Court of Justice can be roped into the whole affair, and a court case can be presented, but this will need another country. So it will depend with the opposition in Zimbabwe if they will find a country which will be willing to lodge a complaint at the International Court of Justice on behalf of them, using the evidence presented by the SOM report of the SADC, as well as the additional of the MPs which were recalled. So if this is handled properly with wisdom, what is going to happen is that Zimbabwe will be forced to have a fresh election. The reason why I am saying so is because the regime in Zimbabwe, they will find it difficult to back down or to remove the MPs who were then elected through the by-elections. It will be very difficult for them to take that order, which means if the matter is taken to the ICJ, what will happen is that the ICJ can order a fresh election to happen in Zimbabwe. And that will be a breakthrough for the nation of Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is a member of the UN. And once that decision is reached, there is nothing they'll be able to do. So at this moment in time, it's politics and smart politics happening, and a greater advantage for President Advocate Nelson Chamisa and the entire opposition. It's up to them to grab this opportunity, push this issue further. Remember, President Nelson Chamisa and this team, they wrote a letter to IPU, and IPU dealt with this matter, investigated and dealt with this matter. They sent a team to Zimbabwe. They came and made their own findings, and this matter was debated when all representatives of the IPU and other countries or other parliaments were present, and a fair judgment was given. So what is left now is for the opposition in Zimbabwe to write further, to instruct the IPU Committee on UN Affairs to actually advise United Nations about what really happened in Parliament, the Parliament coup, which happened in Zimbabwe. That will be the next position in my own understanding and my own view. And secondly, they can have another one being brought to the International Court of Justice through an affiliate country. The only problem we have is the new patriotic law, which means there is no need. It will be very difficult for the opposition in Zimbabwe to be directly involved with another country to lobby for it to represent them at the ICJ. But if they can do that privately or using other people who are not resident in Zimbabwe permanently, it will make sense. So it's all up to the opposition. So at this moment in time, there is great trouble, and the problems are not going to end anytime soon for those in Zimbabwe. Even if Zimbabwe tries to outmaneuver everybody, the economy of Zimbabwe is not going to respond well, because the IPU, which represents a lot of countries. Let us take a look and see how many countries belong to IPU. 193, 180 parliaments. 180 parliaments out of 193 countries. They are at the IPU. They are members at the IPU, so which means more the majority of the nations across the world, they will find it difficult to do business with Zimbabwe wholeheartedly, which means Zimbabwe will remain where it is and things will not change for the better and for the good. Meanwhile, let us take a look on what Dr. Walter Muzembe said when he addressed this issue. He said Zimbabwe is a member of the IPU Parliament, that is Interparliamentary Union, through Parliament of Zimbabwe membership. So in the recent past, Zimbabwe has been part of the executive through Advocate Mudenda. Recently, IPU resolved that 23 CCC Zimbabwe MPs recalled through what the IPU itself has identified and determined as the illegal actions of one Chabango, now flying at supersonic speed as an honorable senator, be reinstated with full benefits. The decision, which appears overtaken by events, seems to have no takers domestically. But can it even be enforced by this government, which is a historical disdain for external prescription? What does it mean, though, for the affected individuals and their voters? Very sorry. Flu. So if the Parliament of Zimbabwe implemented the decision, which is almost unimaginable, what kind of political landscape will evolve from there? So it will be very difficult. It's a very difficult moment right now. And the Zimbabwean authorities, they don't even know how to deal with this issue. They can choose to ignore, but these matters can be taken to UN and ICJ, as I said. And if they continue to ignore, this is going also to bring a bad image on Zimbabwe as a whole, because Zimbabwe will be regarded as a country without democracy at all, as a country which bastardizes its own constitution. That will be the view, which is also a problem, which means the economic recovery would not be an easy task for the government. So this is what's happening. This is the update about the IPU, and I've talked about the possibilities of IPU dealing with this matter through their UN body or their UN representatives, so they can inform United Nations about Zimbabwean position as of now. So that would be a great advantage for the people of Zimbabwe. And also, and another country can take this matter up to the International Court of Justice so that it can be dealt with. And if that route is taken, that would mean a fresh election happening in Zimbabwe, because of the by-elections which have already happened, which are difficult to reverse. So it is what it is. We'll continue to watch and see how the opposition leaders are going to take this matter forward or further. Remember, They wrote to IPU, and IPU came to Zimbabwe, did the investigations, met stakeholders, and they've given their findings recently. And it's a win for the opposition in Zimbabwe. It's a win for President Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let us meet in other episodes as well as other